prepared, etc. Recording has started though. WBA and RIV. Never heard of RIV. What's RIV? Do you mean Rivian? RIVN? Riv Capital? I think you mean Rivian, right? Like the truck? Yeah, Rivian. All right. Uh yeah. Speaking of those, I saw one the other day in my little complex. I was like, okay, I guess people buying them now. But I ain't gonna lie, them Tesla trucks, ugly as shit. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hell, yeah, I'm not even trying to hate on it. It's just like the way it look. Like, yeah, I don't really have another way to describe. It's just ugly. It's ugly as shit. Like whoever designed it, like, what the fuck were you thinking? Okay, sorry, just had to text that person. All right, so for those of you just kind of brand new to this, on Wednesdays, what I like to do. Hold on one second. Just got to make sure that's not okay. Good. Thought that was Discord related. HD and V. Hate. I don't hate Doc. I don't hate the Tesla truck. I don't even hate Tesla. It's just like I actually like I can't remember the models, but if I see it, I would point out and be like, yeah, I like the look of that. But them Tesla trucks, like in real life, just look ugly. Like you wouldn't catch me dead. Like I feel like people only bought that just because of the name, I guess. Like because it's not pretty. I mean, it don't have. I don't know. I guess I've been spoiled by like GMC, Ford, Chevy, and all them. Like I don't know, garbage truck. Yeah, I mean, shit. I'd rather drive a garbage truck than all right, J&J. Okay, so for those of you brand new to this, normally what I do on Wednesdays, I like to look at some scans, see how the week is setting up, kind of look for hammer shooters on the week that would either set us up for a lotto swing. Basically, we get into something that is a little risky, but might, work out between Thursday and Friday. Before we do that, though, you always want to start off broad and kind of just see what the market is doing. So first thing, I'm only going to look at, we're going to look at it from a daily perspective. Let me clear out everything. So these are futures. If you don't know, for those that don't know, my bad. All right. So as we can see, Dow has been running. I mean, obviously, if you looked at, the previous couple of, not previous couple of days, but if you look previously, you'll see, right, we had the run up and then it just accumulated, right? And then, next leg up, right? So that's essentially what you're seeing. And bullishness wise, we kind of like this from an ICT standpoint because all we're doing is creating more and more fair value gaps, more and more displacement. Looking to, finish tomorrow, same thing as well too. Like with displacement, we're looking to displace above this. That happens, more than likely, we're probably going to continue heading up. Now, again, if you look at some of the tickers inside of the Dow, you'll see why it's still going up. I believe UNH is actually number one in that, and I could be wrong. Please don't hold me to it. Um, hold on just one second. Okay, cool. So yeah. Now looking at the cues, right? Honestly, like healthy. I know if you look at the hour, it looks really horrible, but healthy, right? If you look at it from, I'm gonna go ahead and maximize it. If you look at it from like a broader view, we've been running. I mean, shit, even if you want to count from the second leg here, we've been running since May, and yeah, healthy. You know what I'm saying? Now, in my opinion, this could be just exactly what you see here, the pullback and then, the run up. So again, same thing. Um, for me, on the cues, this would be the next target. Actually, probably between this target and then also um, this one, right? Either we stop somewhere in there or we just completely sweep the lows. We do have a fair value gap below, as well. So I would imagine, we dip somewhere, we sweep these lows, dip into the fair value gap, probably, um, bounce off of that, and then we continue heading up. But all that happened today with tech is honestly what was destined to happen. I mean, I hope y'all didn't think, and I don't mean this to be funny, but I hope you didn't think tech was going to run forever. At some point, it did have to have, some sort of I jokingly call it a cleansing. All right. Now, on the way back up, what does ICT tell us or teach us? One thing to watch out for is pay attention to this previous inflection point right here, which is a previous low. Let me move this over here. There we go. And let me label that as inflection point. If you have any questions along the way, please don't hesitate to ask, or also take yourself off of mute. It's not meant to be a lecture. It can be interactive. And honestly, the more interactive, I would say, the better for you guys, right? Because there's some people that have asked questions that other people have had questions to as well. But if price were to come up, right? So you see the fair value gap has been created. If we get displacement down on the way back up, like let's say it bounces off of this, one or two things will happen if it does bounce off of this area or even the fair value gap. Comes back into the same fair value, the bearish fair value gap that gets created here, probably hits off of this previous low, and you might see a situation like this, basically like that, right? So you get your first leg, which is the drop, right? Then it comes back to retest the same fair value gap, which is why I always say you don't have to be the first one in, and then makes the second leg. That is potentially what can happen. Or on the flip side, we get something like this, where we come back down, either sweep these lows, or there's a low right here as well too, right into this fair value gap. And then we bounce off of that, right? Maybe fall a little short of this inflection point, come back down a little bit again to retest the same area that we just bounced off of, and then we make the next leg up. But we make a higher low, right? So those are one or two things that can happen with the cues. And obviously, the same thing I would say if we were to look at if we were to look at ES, we're probably going to see the exact same thing or something similar to it. ES actually doesn't look as bad. But yeah, same thing, right? If we sweep these lows down here, we have a fair value gap there. We also have a previous inflection point there. Yeah, change that to inflection point, and then we'll change this to a swing low right here. Did you not? There we go. So yeah, if price wants to come down, sweep the lows, right? Either sweep or run the lows, and maybe find a little support at this previous high, aka inflection point. What was once resistance, or should have acted as resistance, should now act as support. There's a reason why whenever you take out previous highs, you don't necessarily want to forget about that, because it may not be immediate, as you can see, right? It's not immediate, but at some point, price is probably going to come back to retest that same level. If it retests, hits, and then bounces off of it, we're more than likely going to see a TTO back to the upside. Yes, I know I'm combining strat and ICT terminology, but hopefully you're picking up what I'm dropping. All right. If you have any questions about it, please don't hesitate to ask, of course. Right. So if that happens, then yeah, what we will have done, or what price will have done, is created a broadened formation by making that lower low. We got the broadened formation. We also have the top of the broadened formation. So now you know what the range is. And you also have a previous high up here. We can label that. We'll just label it buy side liquidity up at the top. And yeah, so if price comes down, takes out this low, right? It doesn't even have to come all the way down here. If it just takes out this low, right? Maybe even dipping into this fair value gap, sweeps it. We create the broadened formation, it bounces. And so now more than likely price is going to come back and test this 57.21 area. So we'll see what happens. But if you pay attention to just price's behavior over the past couple of months, every single dip, as you can see, has been bought up. So essentially we might be looking, and we're talking about since back from, actually it's really back from October, but we can start over here from April. So yeah, ever since, every single drop has been just bought up, drop, bought up, right? Drop, bought up. So barring, I guess, anything geopolitically related or politically related, I would expect the same behavior to happen, because all these fair value gaps, they're, yes, they're imbalances, but they can also be thought of as potential support as well too. So at least in my mind, I think of them as potential support. So I just look for either the consequent encroachment, um, just the bear tap and then the bounce, or the full fair value gap fill, and then we get the bounce as well too. So um, we'll see how it opens up tomorrow, but I think we're getting down to some levels of support here where you might find the bulls start stepping in and pulling it off. Now, the one thing I'm going to say is that was Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So far, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to confirm it. I'm not going to be able to confirm it yet, but so far, we might be dealing with the weekly profile, which is a classic. What is it? Classic Wednesday low, if I'm not mistaken. Which means that we might. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think it, like, Monday starts off, and I think Tuesday goes high, Wednesday goes low, makes a low of the week, and then the rest of the week is bullish, if I'm not mistaken, for those profiles. So, uh, just quickly looking at, before we move on to some of y'all tickers, we can just take a quick look at SPY itself. And then when you're looking at SPY on so far on the weekly, right? What do we have going on for SPY on the weekly? We have a two up, but it's obviously bearish. Week's not done yet. Does have to fight through a lot, because not only do we have this fair value gap here, and also here, well, obviously the week is not done, so we can't count this fair value gap, but we do have a fair value gap here. But then we also have a bullish order block right there. Let me label that as well too. So, ooh, it's not supposed to do that. Why is it? Oh, did I accidentally hit extend right? My bad. And it should be white. Let's save you. Give me a second, y'all. Sorry, I just got to save this template real quick to change it. Boom. Save. Yes. Okay. There we go. So we also got this bullish order block. So stacked on top of it is a fair value gap as well too. So a lot of areas of potential support. So if we do drop down somewhere in this area, I'm expecting to see a bounce. I think we probably drop down maybe to 550s. Um, I mean, shit, if we really do tank, then might skip over this fair value gap to come down into this one, or potentially down to this previous high. I don't think we're going to tank that much, but you never know what comes out in the news, just based on the weekly. Now, looking at the daily, again, as you can see, a lot of fair value gaps to go through. For me personally, I want to see what price does once we get below this wrong one. Once we get below this swing low here, may very well sweep that liquidity and bounce, or we can run it all the way down to back to this previous high, which is also the beginning of the bullish order block on the week as well too. So, yeah, honestly, to me, the way I'm looking at it is things are just going on sale. I mean, frankly, that's the way I'm looking at it. So I wouldn't really, if you're in calls, maybe temporarily get out of them unless you're in a really long swing. Um, if not, I mean, if you're not in a really long swing, if it's still dumping, get out of it. Make some money off of your short-term puts, um, and then yeah, get the reversal back to the upside. And then let's see Qs real quick. Yeah, for me, I had that marked out, but it clearly ran the previous high. So my next level, and it also ran the fair value gap. So my next level, excuse me, is down here at 476, potentially maybe there for between 480 and 476. If we do get a bounce, that's probably where I'm expecting the Qs or I would be hoping that the Qs would, try to bounce. All right. No questions. Cool. All right. Let me start off with y'all list first. And then we will look at some of the things that I looked at already earlier this week or Sunday, I should say. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to record that, but we'll talk about um, some of the tickers that we talked about. So first thing we got is let's go with Walgreens. All right. All right. So Walgreens, from a strat perspective, I'll give you both explanations on the weekly. From a strat perspective, you did get a 2-2 reversal. One second. What's this? So the indicator for the fair value gaps is called super order blocks. And it's right here. Super, or not order block, excuse me, order block. Just type in super order block and you should be able to find it. I have it saved as a favorite, but if I were to do a search, yeah, see, just super order and then boom, right there. All right. Okay. So, first things first that I'm looking at is that the month is still red, right? And then same thing for the quarter as well, too, right? But more importantly, I'm looking at what happened last month. So we are currently in a bearish market. We have not had a structure change um, or a break of structure to the upside, at least on the monthly, and it doesn't look like we've had it. Excuse me, we've had it. We haven't had it on the weekly as well, too. For me personally, there is, a lot of resistance that price is going to have to fight through. Not only do you have a bearish breaker block on the weekly, you have two of them actually, but then also we've created a fair value gap that's broken structure to the downside. It is two-sided, so a little bit weaker than a one-sided, but still, this is one that's broken structure to the downside, right smack dab in the middle of where a breaker block is. If you're thinking calls, be careful. There's also this previous inflection point or previous swing low here. So if it were me, since we haven't had a change of structure to the downside, and earnings apparently wasn't all that great, I would be looking at it in a situation like this, where this low, right? Remember I said, if you get a previous low or previous high gets broken, price is more than likely going to test it again. I would say price is probably going to come back and try to test this and ultimately do that, unless there's some sort of a bullish catalyst that comes out for Walgreens, right? But from the way I'm looking at it right now, I would probably draw out. Actually, we can do it right now. Here, put you there, and then spread that, and then we'll turn you into a fair value gap, right? So I'll probably draw out the fair value gap, and then keep mind of where the 50% is, right? If you've seen price, like it may jump up, but if you've seen it struggling around that area and like starting to reject off of it, it's more than likely going to just, continue heading back down. All right. For me, in order for me to think about, like, seriously think about calls, I would kind of want something like this to happen. We come back and retake this previous low, and on that retest, we jump in and take that run up. Or if you want to take it during the first leg, just be aware of potential areas of where you can potentially, get some problems here, right? That's just based off of the weekly. If it were to drop though, well, we did say we're only looking at this from like a kind of a lotto swing perspective, right? So, second, are we at all time lows? Oh no, hell no! Just had to go further back to see it. Damn! Wow, we are testing areas from back in '97. Holy crap! Yeah, see, like price, shit, price coming back to test lows from 1997, bro. I think it was like 10. Yeah, so, um, For me, next level's probably here. Oh shit, clicked on the wrong thing there. Ah, fuck. Okay. So if we were to, oh no, that's already been taken. Hold up, my bad, y'all. That shit's already been taken. So let's see down here. Okay. All right. So two levels, right? Obviously the low right here where we get that bounce at 1069. I see the appeal though, right? Because it's definitely, when you look at it from the quarter, yeah, it's definitely taken out a lot of lows. Um, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to bounce. You know what I'm saying? Because look, even here, where when you see its kind of first drop here, or maybe that's the second leg, yeah, because that's the first leg, then pull up. Okay, so on the second leg, like all these lows get taken out, and that makes you think like, oh yeah, it's gonna reverse. And no, all it did is it traded back into a fair value gap, exhausted, and then continued heading south. So the same exact thing can happen again with this, right? You do have a gap fill above, and I get that that looks enticing. But again, could very well, try to attack the gap, and then exhaust. So I would say if you're going to play calls, keep it tight to, 12, 12.5, 13 call. For me personally, I wouldn't look to trade calls on this. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But to me, it looks like, yeah, you're going to get a nice little run up, like, what you got before when I was showing you on the quarter, and then, ultimately fizzle out and then probably come back to make lower lows. Again, unless something, happens for Walgreens, that's just the way it's looking. Bearish full time frame continuity as well, too. So I'm not really sold on calls for this just yet. If you do get calls, that's what it is. If it's to the downside, I'd probably say 11, the 11 put or possibly the 10 put. Or if you get a 10.5, I'll probably do that because your first target's going to be here at 1069 on the daily. As a matter of fact, yeah, you may not even, because of this fair value gap that I'm seeing there, I didn't even see that, my bad. Because of the fair value gap that's created, it looks like we wicked off of, yeah, we filled it. Well, we did end up above the 50%, so maybe we continue pushing up. But if price returns below this 50% and closes below it, I'll probably say yeah, price is probably going to continue heading down, honestly. So if you're thinking of swings, like I said, I would want to see something kind of like this right before I think calls. Run up. Ideally, I would want it to be above the 50% of this, come back down, maybe find a little support, and then get it on the next leg up. But as of right now, I don't know. I'm not really too sold on it. That's what I got for Walgreens Rivian. So Rivian actually had a nice little run up when you're looking at it on the weekly. Um, might see a pullback, maybe. So far, it's inside, but if it does pull back, then again, mark out areas of where you could potentially find some support. Inflection point right there, the 16.35. But yeah, it's not really giving anything, so far based on, what I'm seeing. Yeah, I see the monthly is up, but I'm just talking about from a lot of swing standpoint. Inside on the week, not really. I probably wouldn't want to enter anything for swings during an inside week because all that could mean is that for next, for Thursday and Friday, we could just chop. Ideally, you want, if you're going to make any moves, let me see the daily real quick. Yeah, we couldn't really take out that high. So it looks like we're exhausting away from that. Yeah, see what price does around the 1635 if it does drop to that. If it drops any lower, probably would not enter it for calls just yet. Um, if you want to take it for puts, right? Obviously, your entry would be there. Change that to daily entry. Your daily entry would be 1694. Um, I would probably look at the 16 put, just keep it close, and then probably have this level marked out right here as to where price could fall to, and then potentially bounce. So if you get, sub 16, maybe even into the 15 range, maybe 1550 range, and you're up, I would probably say take your profit, leave some runners. But as of right now, with full time frame continuity mix and then seeing that three, see how did the 4 hour close? 4 hour just created a fair value gap as well too. Yeah, I'm not really sold on any bullishness or anything. Like, why is it close? What the hell is it stuck on that for? Yeah, I don't know why this shit's acting weird. Ah, that's why, because it's locked in. Yep. Okay, cool. There we go. Figured it out. My bad, Joe. Supporter blocks. Let's see. WBA, Rivian. Ah, okay. Yeah. So with Rivian, I mean, honestly, it seems like, yeah, it had a pretty decent run up. Looks like it's starting to exhaust a little bit. We actually, on the 4 hour, we did get a change in structure, right? A break of structure, excuse me, to the downside. So, yeah, short term for me, I see short term downside, not necessarily a run up just yet. Yeah, we can look at Meta. That's fine. So yeah, I'm seeing short term puts. I probably say again, you break 1694, take the 16 put, take it all the way down to 1635 or possibly 1531, and then take your profit. Earnings is when? Yeah, not till August. So yeah, because of this order block, it might find support at 1635 and then potentially bounce. So if you're looking for calls, I would wait to see if it does drop first. I would wait to see what it does around here. If it starts running up early, just be careful because again, it's exhausting when it gets closer to this high at 1885. So I wouldn't want you to take the trigger to the upside right here at 1849 only for it to exhaust and then you're stuck because you got in at the top. Hopefully that makes sense, right? So Rivian, that's where I'd say 16 put. If it goes if it goes 3-2 up again, you probably want to see it clear this high first before you start thinking about calls. I would hate for you to get in at that entry and then it just exhausts. Now, if it does get above that, then you can possibly start thinking about the 20 call for Rivian. Let me see. The next target would be up here at 19. Yeah, so you could probably start thinking about the 20. And I wouldn't even do it for this week. I'll probably do it for at least next week or possibly, 2 weeks out. All right, what do we got? What's the next one? High definition. Home Depot, I know. All right. Yeah, clear all that shit out. So I think this is called an inverted head and shoulders, right? Inverse head and shoulders, or it could be wrong, but I don't really trade those type of formations, but it could be wrong. Um, Actually, XHB is a good sector to look at as well too, kind of give you an idea of what home builders are doing. HD is in the XHB sector. So as you can see, we went outside on the month. I'm sorry, outside on the quarter, outside on the month. And so on the weekly, 2-2 continuation. A little bit of exhaustion, but ideally, I just want to see the week clear this high and close above this high. If it does, then we're probably going to continue heading higher. On the daily, we did go inside, so you do have an actionable signal, right? Order block, bearish, excuse me, bullish order block with a fair value gap stacked on top of it. Also with a breaker block below. So there's a lot of bullishness. Um, going on, right? Keep in mind though, it was a pretty solid run, so I wouldn't be surprised if there is a pullback. If there is, look to where the breaker block is and the fair value gap inside of this breaker block is. You might, it probably will find a little bit of support around there and ultimately bounce. But because it's inside, which is an actionable signal, yeah, you can chart it out both ways, right? If you get a break of 114, oh wait, I'm sorry, my bad. Clear that, my bad. Let's look at Home Depot. That was just to look at what was going on. I was already charting it, my bad. Okay, so with Home Depot, kind of similar story, right? I think we didn't go outside, but clearly huge ass candle on the month. It actually looks like it wants the TTO on a monthly. So this might be at the next pullback, might be a good setup for a swing back to the upside, right? Because it looks like that's essentially what we're doing, right? We get the run up, we pull back into a fair value gap, like what you see over here. Or to help illustrate that, boom, boom, hit the 50%, consequent encroachment right on the money, bounces right off of that. So looking for the TTO back to the upside. So don't think you missed out on the train. You just got to be patient and not try to enter in at the top. Um, yeah, but we get a 2-2 continuation on the weekly, looking for a continuation, really. Daily, same thing. You get a 2-2 continuation. Um, Nice little fair value gap that broke structure to the upside. Preceding that was a bullish order block. So yeah, a lot of bullishness here. We got displacement above. If we do pull back again, I wouldn't really freak out by that. I would just say, look for an opportunity. If it does pull back, it's just really an opportunity for you to go long. Uh, if you want to do it based on the daily, or if you want to do it based on um, like a lotto or whatever, I'll probably say, let's see, where are we dealing with? We got that, and then 383, and then what's this previous right here? I'll probably say if you want to go lotto, something like a lotto, I'll probably say go after the 380 call for this week. With the ATR of $7, Home Depot can obviously do that within 2 days, right? Um, even if we pull back to let's say 360, I would just say I would kind of maybe lower it down instead of saying 380, maybe look at the 370s. But yeah, definitely possible. If you want to give it more time, go for next week. If you're looking to, maybe attack the 400 call, I'd probably say look at some September calls for Home Depot. Let me just check real quick. Oh, I'm not looking at September. My bad. September 400 calls for Home Depot is asking $515. Um, Spreads are a little wild, but yeah, I mean those probably come together as you get closer to price. But yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad way to go, especially if it gets a really nice push for the rest of the week. Earnings is in August. So if you want to do something like as a monthly, I'll probably say look at maybe the 380s, 385s. Let's see. Let's look at August. 380, 385, or 390s is probably what I say go look at. Um 390s asking 495, 385 asking 640, and then 380s are asking 840. So obviously it's more expensive the closer to the money, but shit, ain't nothing wrong with that in my opinion. Especially if you can get it to hit 383 by the end of the week, possibly, and then that gives you a whole nother month for the shit to keep running and potentially get up to 396. So it could potentially end up being a really good swing. Kind of like DE. I think Sal had alerted it before me, but yeah, I had looked at it once I had looked at XLI and DE was looking pretty sweet. I think I'd mentioned 380s and I think it's up to like 386 now, or was when I looked at it earlier today. But yeah, all in all, HD full time frame continuity to the upside. Um, you know, Looks like it's still got some room to go. Um, yeah, it looks good. Even if there's a pullback, like I said, probably just an opportunity to get a little bit more time on the swing and head back to the upside. What was the other one you had said? I think you said Visa. Yep, Visa. So yeah, Visa, just looking at it from the weekly and the daily, it looks pretty good, right? You get the 132 to the upside. So looking like it may continue pushing. Um, you might find a little bit of resistance in this area, 275, between 275 and 280. But if you're looking to like do like a lotto swing, I'll probably go after the 275s for end of this week. If not, if you're looking for next week, I'd probably say look at the 280s. You got a little bit of a double top there on the weekly, so might find a little bit of resistance there. But yeah, I like the way it's looking. Let me see. What did you say in chat? ELF. Okay. And yeah, looking at the daily, again, what you're seeing is, it made a lower low. This is the first run. So again, don't think that, you missed out on it. For me personally, I probably wouldn't enter during this run. I'd probably wait to, for some sort of a pullback. But yeah, if it keeps pushing 275, in this area, based on what I'm seeing on the weekly, is where I'd probably, find a little bit of resistance right around there, possibly the 280 more so than the 275. But yeah, overall, it does look good. Earnings is July 23rd. So yeah, I'd probably say, next week, probably grab again 275s or the 280s. Um, Obviously, because earnings is next week, I probably wouldn't even say go a month out or anything. Just keep it close to that. But yeah, Visa ultimately does look pretty decent. Looks like it wants to go, but again, with earnings so close, who knows? Could be a bad earnings report, and then bam, shit just drops. J and J. I had actually looked at that over the weekend. Did it find? Ooh, and I missed out. Oof, I missed out. Too many goddamn plays. Too many goddamn plays. Yeah, I was unsure. It was 2-2 up on the weekend, and I saw some exhaustion. So I'm like, yeah, it might pull back. Oh, I mean, technically, I was right. It did pull back, but, barely touched the fair value gap, and then she was gone. Shit. Let this be a lesson. Set your alerts, people. Um, but yeah, from a like a call standpoint, like this was a pretty big run. You might get a little bit of profit taking here. But based on the weekly and the daily, yeah, I would probably say that on the weekly at least, this is the target, 159 14. So if you trying to, be a little froggy, you could probably look at maybe the 160s for next week. I mean, it's a two. Well, technically, it could still do it, but I would feel more comfortable maybe grabbing the 157s for Johnson and Johnson if you're going to get this week, right? You want to keep it close, especially after a big run up like that. You might get some profit taking, aka a little bit of a pullback, and it might fall back down below 155. So I would probably say look at something for next week. Again, probably 160s for next week. Um, and I wouldn't enter unless it's on a pullback, right? I don't want you to enter at the top and then just starts exhausting. Either way, if it does, trigger the day tomorrow, right? That's your daily entry at 157. If it does trigger the daily entry, and it's still looking strong, you probably could go ahead and take the 160s for this week and then go from there. But overall, it's looking pretty decent for value. Yeah, excuse me, FTC is bullish. Yeah, bounce off the Broadening formation, the old Broadening formation there, and as you can see, after going double inside month, it definitely went two up. So looks like it wants the TTO back to the upside. So eventually get back up to, that 160, 163 area. Yeah. So if you're looking to swing it, Or if it does like, drop on Thursday and Friday, that might be give you an opportunity for a potential swing targeting all the way up at this high, right? It'll be a TTO back to the upside, targeting that high of 163. So you could probably go again 160 call, 162, or possibly 165, um, and just again give it some more time, and then go from there. Based on the daily, yeah, kind of same thing. If it triggers 157, that's going to be your first target at 159, 14, and then uh, pivot machine gun over here. All these highs need to be taken out on the way up to the top. So I'll probably go with next week, 160s or 165 just to be safe. Or if feeling froggy, like I said, you can go with the 160 call for this week and see what happens. What's stopping it? Nothing's necessarily stopping it. There's just the previous high here at 159.14. So anytime a high gets taken out, you might, you have a little bit of exhaustion risk. So it might hit that, exhaust a little bit, and then pull back. So I'm not saying anything's necessarily stopping it because it did just get past the fair value gap. It's just that you got a previous high here. Actually, this like there's a previous low and a previous. So that this area, like whenever I see like, previous lows and previous highs kind of being made in the same exact range, I kind of pay attention to that. Might be a little bit of, strong resistance or support in that area. So as you can see, while it was above, it was using it as support. Now it's below, it's using it as resistance. So this may be that retest, and yeah, it might hit that and fall back. Not saying it will, just have a plan. If it does do that and you see it starting to exhaust off of that, then you know what to do. You know to get out of your calls, or at least take some profit, leave a runner, and then maybe roll into some longer term swings. Meta, let's see what's going on with XLC, because when I last looked at it, it was okay. That confirms it. When I last looked at XLC, the shit was in flames. Let me see. Hold up. Yeah, yeah. So, yep, exactly. When I looked at it last week, I was like, oh, it's a two up and it's bearish. So, probably gonna go with that 2-2 reversal. But lot of let's go back to Meta. A lot of potential places to bounce, right? So you have this previous low right here at at 454.46. It can either sweep that, in other words, wick off of that, or wick through that and then bounce, or we can see it, run the liquidity here to get to liquidity down here where the previous fair value gap was, right? Might try to come back in and retest that same fair value gap, and it essentially tested the consequent encroachment because it couldn't displace below it. So might find a little support around that area as well too. Set around the 420s. We'll see. We'll see if Meta wants to drop that hard. But the first level for me, based off of the weekly, is going to be 454.46. Looking at it on the daily, we do have a gap fill above, but again, pretty decently solid red candle. I think based off of where one, we have a previous high over here, and then also we have a fair value gap as well too. I think what'll happen is price will sweep this low over here, come into the fair value gap, probably find a little bit of support, and then that's probably where we're going to see that bounce. If that does happen, I would suggest taking a swing of a month out, probably targeting back up here at 538. Not a month out, excuse me. My apologies. Not a month out, couple of months out. Probably targeting, or you could probably go for like the 500 call instead of 538 all the way at the top. Actually, yeah, that'll be better because this is a previous low. This may act as resistance, so that's actually better to get that 500 call. Um, and then yeah, just get some time on it. Really, this could actually end up being a really nasty ass swing. And I don't mean nasty in a bad way. Like this could end up being pretty decent. if you have the patience for it. But as of right now, if you're thinking puts, yeah, I'll probably say if it does trigger, puts to the downside, um, it'll be 459.12. That'll be the trigger. I'd probably either go with the 455 put or the 450. 455 if I'm thinking of, possibly end of week. 450, I'm probably thinking of next week. I know it has a $13 ATR, but still, you gotta, be cautious here. Because we're already in the distribution leg, right? We got the accumulation here. The move up was your manipulation, and then we're already in the distribution leg, and we're about to hit a potential area of support, right? So unless there's like some news that comes out about Meta that like really tanks that shit, um, I don't know. I just don't really see it dropping all the way down to like 414 again, unless some sort of news comes out. I'm even going to mark this one out as well too, 427.11. Just potential areas of where you could potentially see a bounce. All right. Hopefully that answers your questions. But if you thinking like for me, I'm if I'm thinking calls, I'm not thinking any sort of a lotto for this week. That would just it really would be a gamble because there's nothing about the chart that says, "Hey, we're about to reverse tomorrow." And with the way the market's been lately, like it could very well be true that it does do that, but I'm not seeing it on the charts right now. Full time frame continuity is against me as far as bearishness goes. It's against bullishness right now, and yeah, solid red candle, no like real signs of exhaustion and possible bullish buying. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. All right. ELF, 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 ELF. ELF. Yeah, love those double outsides. Follow, I mean, usually with, I mean, again, it's not a strat thing, but whenever I see double outsides, I'm not saying it's going to run up or down, but it's usually whichever the next candle, like whether, as you can see here, it's a pretty explosive move. So, in this case, the move was to the downside, right? We had a bearish three, and then we had a bullish three, and then that's all she wrote, right? Um, it kind of makes sense considering like all the candles, like we had like, three different candles wicking around the same exact area, right? So, and then we get the two down. Um, yeah, so I mean, unless the week closes back up above this low right here, probably thinking we're going to see more of a drop. 173.10. I would want it to, close back above that. But if we do close below it, probably going to see maybe a retest of it and a potential drop, or we can drop all the way through back down to these levels, right? Because this would be boom, boom, right? So broad information there, broad information, right? So looking at the daily, I mean, you do have a breaker block that it's falling into combined with a fair value gap inside of that breaker block. So again, there might be some support, around there. Let's see. I'd probably say look at around, we'll say 170, right? If ELF, bounces off of that, cool. But if it continues to drop, it's probably gonna, try to fill this gap here, right? That's a gap fill, not a fair value gap, just an actual gap fill. And I would say mark out the halfway point of that gap fill because if it finds support around there, it's probably going to bounce. If not, then yeah, probably will fill the gap and continue heading down. All right. All right. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to wrap this up soon. My rambunctious 4-year-old is not in bed and I can hear her acting a fool and cutting up, so I need to go take care of that. What I'll do is like if I find anything tonight that might be a good swing setup, I'll probably alert it in Tensho alerts. But Honestly, I want to see if my profile theory is right that we've found the classic Wednesday low. And if that's the case, then we'll probably run up on Thursday and Friday. But again, I want to see that confirmation. Um, MDB on the weekly. Yeah, you may actually, this may be the beginnings of the second leg, right? You get the run up on the weekly. We came down into the fair value gap, tested the consequent encroachment, and now so far we're inside. Two more days left, so we could get the 2-2 reversal. Or if it stays inside, that leaves you with an actionable signal. So it's really nothing wrong there. For me, if it does kind of push up, this is probably the area I'm targeting, or the halfway point of this fair value gap right here. Let me change it back to fair value gap on the weekly. So the halfway point, what's that, like 297, 300? Um, it moves $11. Let's see. Moves $11 a day. So yeah, this could actually set up for a pretty decent swing. Now, if you're trying to do it for just like this week, probably target this high up here, 271. So again, it moves $11 a day. Talking about a $9 move from 262 to 271. So yeah, because it looks like it wants the TTO back to the upside actually. And yeah, so what was a fair value gap on the week? We actually have a gap fill, um, that it's trying to do, right? It's in the gap currently. But yeah, looks good. It really does. I see the first move. There's your pullback. This will be the second leg that we'll be looking for. Um, yeah, it's just really going to be about execution and proper entry at this point, in my opinion. The month is, yeah, you're at the bottom of a range on the month too. This actually, I would use this more as a swing, not necessarily as a lotto. I would definitely use this more as a swing. Looking at where the month is, right? It's kind of the same thing that I was pointing out on the week and the daily. Here's your first leg, right? Here's your pullback, and then hold up. Let me see. Are we in OTE? Boom, boom. OTE, baby. Yeah. So on the monthly, we're at OTE entry as well too. So yeah, MDB is pretty good. Good luck. Good find. Really good find. I'm just curious about. Yeah, that's not quarter's not really showing me shit. Yeah. So yeah, month based on the month and the weekly, especially if the week ends up as a 2-2 reversal. Yeah, I like this move. Whereas Friday, yeah, so I'll probably look at something a month out. It does move $11, so I'll probably look at something a month out. I would have to look. Let me look at the contracts real quick. I've never really traded MDB to be honest with you. So for August 16th, so far a lot of open interest on the 270s, but that's super expensive. Damn, and MDB is expensive. And ooh, the spreads though. Ugh. I mean, I ain't really a fan of the spreads, but if I had to choose, I'd probably look at the August 16th for 300. But yeah, I don't like them spreads, yo. Bid is 380. The ask is 465. I'm not really feeling that. Man, y'all like some that they the highest shit too. Well, not so bad, but yeah, it's. I mean, the delta's 0.21, theta's 0.19, so yeah, still pretty high. Yeah, if I had to choose, that's probably where I go. Sweet. I'm already in 270. Oh, Dynasty. What's up, Drake? But I'll look into next month's con. You in 270 for the week? I mean, yeah, 270 for this week. I wouldn't trip about that either. Like I like it actually. Let me see. Let me switch over back over to this. 270. Yeah, exactly right. Like I said, that's exactly what I'll target, that high. So yeah, you being in the 270s, yeah, we on the same page. Moves $11 a day, so we're talking about a $9 move. It could hit 270 by tomorrow, and then I don't know if you're in multiple cons or whatever, but yeah, take a little profit off, leave the runners, and shit. If the runners run up to 275, possibly, excuse me, 275, possibly 280, shit. Let me know how that goes. I'm actually curious because I never traded this shit before, so let me know if we both was right on that shit. Um, MDB pays well. Yeah, I usually I have a tendency to stick to um my tickers, but I mean, I'm not really afraid to play other tickers as well too. Um, but yeah, like I mean, for me, the setup's the same, right? It's just the only difference between those tickers and the slower tickers is, again, the speed of it. But and obviously the higher theta, the higher it's a little bit more risky with the higher volatility, but the setup is the same, right? If the setup's there, the setup's there. It doesn't matter how fast or slow the ticker moves, it's there. All right. Spread suck for sure. Yeah, that's the only thing I was not feeling. I'm like, damn, that's um. Yes, I didn't know much about it, but add it to my list. Yeah, cool. Um, yeah, so I gotta wrap this up, but MCD wasn't lying about that. I put it in intentional alerts. As you can see, I think I called out the 260 call. Where it's at right now, 261. I'm not trying to, beat my chest or whatever, but pay attention. And when I say like pay attention, like that doesn't mean I know a lot of you all are about instant gratification, but a lot of the swings that I talk about, they eventually hit. They may not hit immediately, but they eventually do. Like somebody tagged me about a KO call out, I think I'd made like last month or maybe the month before. I even stopped paying attention to it because I wasn't in it, right? And apparently they're up. So swings don't necessarily have to hit on the very same day, right? It may take a little bit, but it's eventually going to hit. Case in point, McDonald's, right? So what I'm probably looking to do is honestly, I'm really hoping for a pullback tomorrow because I do want to get in on this shit, to be honest with you. And those are my targets up there. But anyway, since I took my profit on that and I saw that it had come back, but I was just like, you know what? There's a trader that, back in my wealth squad days used to say, don't try it. Something about like lightning is not gonna strike twice in the same place. So I just like, you know what? It's all right. I'm not I'm not gonna try it again. And then also Drake just put in the chat Lotto CVS 62.5 call. I'll let y'all chart it out because I really do gotta get going. I can hear her in the other room. Um, Last thing I'm gonna say is DE. I don't think it's done. I know it just had a pretty big rip to the upside. Um, from a swing standpoint, I don't think it's done. From like a lotto, I mean, it's had a pretty big run. So I would not be surprised if it pulls back a little bit. But again, from a swing standpoint, I don't think it's done. Still looks pretty good to me. Damn, imagine getting it down here when it swept the lows, though. Jesus. Yeah. Um, what we gonna do? Probably schedule a session like at the end of September and start looking at some potential swings for Q4 heading into Q1. So that's basically about a 6 month, 4 to 6 month swing. But yeah, like, damn. Ooh. And we went Nirvana on the monthly too. Yeah, damn. Yeah, I don't think DE's done though. I don't. I think it's probably going to want to come back up to this level here. So I'll probably say at some point there's probably going to be a swing of 420 in the cards at some point. Earnings is what August 15th, so saying most $7 a day. Maybe the 400 calls, maybe the 410s will probably be a good look. But anyway, DE's doing this thing. I think Cat did his thing as well too. Yep, Cat's been doing his thing as well too. Um, I know there's a lot of y'all that may already be in it, but yeah, I mean, if anything, this pullback is probably just going to give an opportunity to maybe get in some calls a little bit long term. Um, dividend day is Monday, the 22nd. So you may see a potential run up heading into Monday. Um, in which case I would say probably if you're trying to like do like a lotto type situation, probably again target the 360s or the 365s. The 360 is it's not what I called out on Tensho alerts because I missed my original call out due to work, but I did manage this week to grab 360s as a weekly. It did jump up to $400, like from 0.89 to I think it was like 400 and change. So yeah, if you know your targets, if you know your levels and you know your ATR, yeah, I mean, some of these tickers can really pay on a weekly. And that's what, like, don't think because you missed the first initial entry doesn't mean that you won't have another opportunity later on down the line. Because I definitely didn't take this
I took my
on
extension cord.
last week as well too. I'm sorry, somebody
Yeah,
trying
I
to say
took
something?
my extension cord.
Huh?
Yeah, tell me it's upstairs.
Oh, yeah, there you go. All right. All right. Anyway, that's all I got. I got to get my little one to bed. But yeah, definitely keep eyes on Cat. Full time frame continuity is majority green. The only thing that is red is the daily. And so, yeah, higher time frames tend to win out. 360. Yeah. So that's, yep. I would say 360s or 365 for this week. You know, if it takes out both of these targets, cool, even better. But yeah, I'll see y'all in the chat. We'll talk. Sorry, y'all. I got to cut it short. Love y'all. Love, peace, and chicken grease. See y'all on the flip side.